What's up, YouTube? This is Chris Lucas with another mix tutorial, this time for a song that a friend of mine and I actually wrote for the purpose of making a tutorial on, and also for the purpose of just having fun with. And then we decided, while we were having fun with it, that it'd be fun to do a song just like it for every metal genre. So hopefully over the coming months, we're going to have a song like this that we put up and let people download and mix themselves. That's a generic stereotype of every individual metal genre. Anyway, the backstory for the whole song is in the description, but I don't want to waste too much time with that. So, for this song, this video is going to be bass and drums for this song. I'm starting with bass and drums because bass and drums is what I usually start with, and what a lot of people start with, since most people consider the low end, everybody considers the low end to be the fundamental bulk of the mix. So let's listen to the drums for a second. Alright, so pretty punchy, in my opinion. Nice verb there, not too overbearing or anything, but they sound good. So anyway, let's look at what I actually did on the drums. Let's start with kick drum, everybody's favorite. Everybody's favorite is the kick drum. Alright, so the kick drum originally, first of all the drums are Steven Slate Drums 4, except for some triggers that I'll get to. So the kick drum originally is just kick 11, big surprise here, kick 10. This is the fundamental portion of the kick. But kick 10 doesn't have enough snap for me, so I added in this one of Charles J. Wall's samples, which I'll link to in the description as well. It's like really disgustingly high-endy and clicky, and this is what it sounds like. So I mix that sample in, and you end up with something more like this. So out of trigger, I just go into metric halo channel strip, smooth setting. Everybody likes smooth or warm for the most part. They sound ridiculous on drums. Gate, because the sample has this I'm compressing it a lot, and because the sample has you can hear the pedal snap back at the end of it, just barely. So I gate that out. Then I take a little low mids out of it because honestly, the samples are ridiculous. Like you can take out almost anything and it'll still be plenty audible. Then after that, I go to this, which is basically, it's a compressor I'm using sidechained from the snare, so that if the snare and kick hit the same time, the snare makes the kick duck out, so it doesn't get, because it just makes the limiter freak out, and it's no bueno. And then right after that, I have one more EQ, which is just taking some of the sub-lows out and more focusing the actual kick peak of it, just to make it fit with the bass guitar a little better. So that's all it is for the kick. That's straight up that one channel. It's being bussed to the drum bus. That's it. Okay, overheads. Okay, so overheads. I'm not super in love with the Steven Slate Drum 4 overheads, SSD4 overheads, for this specific mix. I don't feel like they have enough body, I guess I want to say. It's hard to explain. It also just might be the other instrumentation. I mean, they're not necessarily tailor-made for metal, so they're great. It's a great sample package. What can I say? It's just I wasn't super in love with them for this. I was gonna go and do it in Superior, the overheads, and I was like, I want to make it simple for people. Just one virtual instrument for this. Don't make it crazy. Just make it out of. So with the overheads, nothing big. Take some 400 to 500 out. It's just mud. Roll off everything below 300. Add some air above 10K. Bada bing. No big deal. So snare. The snare, it has a few different pieces to it. Only two in this mix, actually, but it's still a few. It's got the main snare, which is this. Okay, that is Snare 11, big shocker with the tail cut off, because I'm compressing it pretty hard. And then a little bit of slate snare mixed in, which is one of my favorites. It's my second favorite behind Snare 11. When Snare 11 works. Snare 11 doesn't always work. Then VCC, no big deal, 4K setting. Channel strip, compressing it pretty hard. Again, also gating it a little bit. Nothing, not really, just to taper the tail a little bit. Then some weird EQ. I got a little bump at 200. That's where the pop of it is. Little scoop at 400. And then these are I moved these around for a bit to try to get them to fit in the guitar. Like if you can kind of look at the EQ of the guitar and see what frequencies it's strong at and not strong at, try to hear it. It's really hard to hear. You know, if it's like 2D, it's hard to hear. And then you just try to fit the peaks in other instruments into those, and they fit nicely. So I did that with this. That's why they're kind of seemingly random placed. And then Decapitator. I gotta show you what the Decapitator really does, because it's the best plugin. The best plugin. Let me show you. It's like parallel compression on crack. It's like dirty parallel compression. That's literally what it is. That wasn't even that creative. You can use any of these settings. Just play with them. Just try not to solo it out. Just listen to the mix and play with the settings. Just play, make it darker, brighter. Does that fit better? Does that fit worse? Try the different distortions. Does that fit better? Does that fit worse? It's subtle, but you know. Well, I take that back. The plugin itself is not subtle. It's awesome. The plugin settings in the plugin can be subtle, but the plugin itself, just slap the thing on, guaranteed to make it thicker and cut more through like ridiculous guitar and bass and stuff. So then there's the additional snare, and it's just a CJ Wall sample. It sounds like this. It's very synthetic. It's a one-shot, and I just mix that in with some. Both of these have some transX on it, increasing the high end and just the low end transient on this. I think that's it for the snare, right? Yep. And then I also, I like sidechaining multiband compressors. I think they work well. I might just be placebo affecting myself, confirmation bias, because I like to do it, but who knows? I still do it. Anyway, so there's a plugin, very well-known plugin called the Waves C6, and it's a multiband compressor that has sidechain capabilities. Sorry, I'm finding the guitar bus. So in this mix, I have the snare sidechained to the guitars, so that there's this C6, this multiband compressor on the guitar bus right now. Now, whenever the snare hits, it makes 200 hertz-ish, or 187 hertz where the body of the snare is, and 4K duck out of just the guitars when the snare drum hits. And it kind of makes that little extra bit of room to make it so the snare really comes out. And you can really overdo this and make it feel like the guitar's ducking out, which is not supposed to. Guitar's not supposed to sound like anything. You're just supposed to notice the snare come through a little more. That can be a tricky balance, and I'm not even sure if I got it right 100%, but give it a shot. The reason I have 2 extra tracks over here, snare key early, is because the minimum attack on this plugin is 0.5 milliseconds. That's kind of a long time in the world of a transient. We want it basically to like hard limit, at least this is what I think I want it to do anyway. I want it to hard limit that frequency range down as soon as the snare transient comes through. So that when it comes through, it's got the space, and then as soon as the snare transient's gone, it fills back in those frequency ranges on the guitar. That way it's transparent. So in my mind, I make the fastest attack possible, the fastest release possible. To double up on that, I make the snare track, I take the snare track, I move it a millisecond earlier than it is, and I take that duplicate of it and use that as the key, so that the attack is essentially limiting, because it is all the way at full gain reduction when the real snare drum comes through the mix. Anyway, so I do that, and I think it works. It's subtle, but I think it helps. Then, for toms, we have the usual, just channel strip, a lot of EQ. These are all quick toms, a little bit of compression, probably like 6 or 9 dB worth. All the toms are basically that. I'm not using the room. I didn't like it. I couldn't make it work. The rest of the cymbals, China and Splash. China's similar, just taking out some gorp up here that wasn't mixing and increasing a little high end. Ride cymbal, same deal. Pretty significant peak boost where I thought it, like the bell really rang out. It's the only justification I have for that. And then cymbal bus. I did a few different things with the busing of the drums this time. Normally I would just do everything to the drum bus and then all the shells also to the drum comp bus. This time I was like, it was making the cymbals too pumpy, and it sounded bad, and I was like, what if I just take all the cymbals, bust them to their own thing, and let them just do their own thing? So I did that. All the cymbals are bussed to this bus. It has, I actually use multi-band compression on just the high end of the cymbals. Let me show you what kind of difference that makes, because it's a little... As you can see, it just, those gains should have been even, so when I bypassed it, it should have been the same volume, so that shouldn't have been an influence. It makes it so, like, the high end, it keeps it from getting harsh, because if the high end jumps out at you a little bit too much, especially when it hits a limiter a little too hard, it can get really nasty and really make your head hurt. So what I did is I just limited it down, and also when the cymbals let go, when the cymbal hit is stopped and the cymbals ring out, it brings the highs back in a lot, so it kind of gives them this cool, like, swell out effect. Anyway, I tried that, it worked. Try it. Then I have the drum bus. All the shells are bussed to here. It's got mix bus, it's got clipping. I clipped this bus really hard. It sounds okay, I like it, and it worked, so check it out. I lied. When I said really hard, I meant sort of, because it's not doing it that hard. It's less than 1 dB reduction, but pretty much all the hits are getting clipped. So that's what I want. Then I got the drum comp, compressor bus. It sounds like this. No drums are going to, or no kick drums going to this. I forgot. It's just a really high ratio compressor, super fast, basically limiting attack. I don't want any of the transient to come through. I just want to add to the body of the drum. It's basically just stock parallel compression. And then I've got a few different verbs. I've got a verb for just the toms, and it is a deverb room. Andy Sneap's fave, or maybe not. I've got a snare verb for just a snare, and it's just a chamber. It really adds length to the snare. It really adds, like, the, you know, I don't even know how to describe it. It adds that depth. And then I have a plate for the snare, which is just to add a little, like, body, not depth in the distance sense, but depth in the, like, width of the actual hit sense. So here, check that out. The snare drum's hit just seems to last a little longer. It's weird. That's usually what I use a plate for in one of these. All right. So now that we're done with drums, seemingly, let's go over to bass, to bass, to bass. There we go. This was recorded with just a 5-string bass. Oh, God. It'll be in the description. I can't remember it off the top of my head. And basically, I start out, I duplicate the track, as usual, and then I take a one and name it low, one and name it high, and the low one I do this. I add a CL2A, doing this about this much gain reduction. Check it out. Okay, no biggie. R comp. Really fast attack, pretty fast release. Then equality, roll off all the high end. Make a few adjustments here where I thought things were out of balance. Also made some room for some kick drum down here. You know, honestly, that should be a little higher. So that's the low end. I also have a limiter like this. Just shave out the top, even it out even more. L1's good. It doesn't butcher stuff too bad. And then I have sidechain compression from the drums onto the bass as well. So this sidechain compression, you can ignore these. These aren't actually doing anything. I have sidechain compression on the frequency where the kick drum is punching, so that it makes the bass stuck out, and that frequency is just a little bit, just like max of 3 dB. Again, I move the kick track ahead, all that. And then the rest of the multiband compression is just to help even out the sub-lows and the lows of the bass. that is that. And then for the high end of the bass, I go into Amplitude, to one of these, GK. That's just what it comes with. I'm not too picky. I honestly have a ways to go when it comes to getting excellent bass tone. And then I EQ out some mud in here, some room up here, snack the L1 on it, even it out, mix it in with regular bass. No big deal. Anyway, that's it for drums and bass. I will have another video up as well for the rest of the mix. I hope you like it. You can also check out the song. You can check out my website, chrislucasproductions.com. You can follow me on Twitter and on Facebook and all that stuff that I have to do, even though I think it's crazy. And yeah, I'll see you around soon.